Now, this is the big one. Guys,
yeah, here we go.
love to get your calls on this. Limit Break Radio on Skype. 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord.
We just need to take a breath here real quick.
Gamer Escape asking a very a good question. This is a very Gamer Escape always asks really good questions in these interviews, but I don't know if the community was ready for this, but
I'd shit on Skuro for a Klondike bar.
Thank you, Mr. Jack, very much for that. So, Gamer Escape asking, you previously said that 4.0 won't be story gated. Now, we've had a lot of discussions about this, and a lot of people wondering about this. So they asked Yoshi-P if he would kindly elaborate. In terms of the story, the narratives are continuous. The expectation is that the players will start with A Realm Reborn and continue through the expansion. The lesson with having 3.0 released was that all of the content of the expansion wasn't accessible until you beat A Realm Reborn. The feedback, especially from Western audiences, good job guys, was that players weren't able to access any of the Heavensward content until having completed 2.0. We would still like players to get through the story content, but some of the elements in the expansion, we're considering letting players access certain elements without having completed content from A Realm Reborn. That I think is okay.
That's fine.
Having certain the elements accessible, that's okay. I think that they could do that with a single lower level zone.
Yeah,
maybe a Korthus. You know, like let's get the northwest of or northeast of Korthus.
If Skuro was a disease, he would be called Skurosis.
Not bad.
Just turned into the Skuro roast. Here's where things get bad. Another thing we're debating internally is whether or not to have something like World of Warcraft's jumping potion that would work with both levels and story. The Chinese version actually has something similar to this already. I'm trying to decide if it's something like this that should be timed with 4.0. WoW would have players pay to jump over and skip levels, and it's something that can be considered for FF14 as well. Of course, this isn't so we can make money off players wanting to skip content, but there has always been that debate of when we bring players in, bring in new players, or if existing players want to bring in a new player, there's a disparity with the level gap between them, especially if the player has gone through all the content and their friend is just starting. It would be such an effort for the new player to catch up. I feel that we might want to bridge that gap and have that available as an option. Whether or not to actually implement it or offer it as a purchasable option still has yet to be decided. We still have some time until 4.0. We're hoping to gather more feedback from players out there to see if this would be the best course of action for handling this. I've talked to a lot of players familiar with WoW, and some of them have said, well, why didn't you have your jumping potion with 3.0?
Wait, was that sarcasm?
That's not a real question, is it? Oh God.
The thing is that this game already has this version of a jumping potion, and that's the fact that you get like 80 bajillion XP for each story quest now.
I know. That's the thing. Like, the grind that people are complaining about is not that hefty of a grind. You have more of a problem gathering gear, properly item level gear, than you do getting XP in this game. And leveling is not the fucking problem.
It doesn't, and honestly, like, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you want to skip the content in a game where the story is continuous?
This isn't WoW.
Like, this is not your average MMO where each expansion has its own, like, shitty narrative that's self-contained. Like, we're gonna get people at 4.0 jumping to 4.0 and be like, wait, who are these characters?
See that, and not just that, but
like, come on.
But you've been training your community for how you want content done for 3 years, and then you're gonna just come in and sweep the legs out from under people on this. Why? So that people can play with their friends? Like,
you can already do that.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is that like there are already plenty of ways they can play with their friends. Your friends can level sync and do the dungeons with
exactly.
you. And secondly, if you're a new player, you don't know what you're missing. So to say, "Oh, I don't get to do the Heavensward content," okay, well enjoy the other content you've never done before. Like, this is a brand new game to you, so play the fucking game.
No.
Like, you're starting in A Realm Reborn, play A Realm Reborn. You're already getting through it with like the 10 billion extra XP they added, so just enjoy the game. Why would you want to skip it?
And this is the thing. When WoW implemented this, I said this is such a bad idea. It's bad for MMOs because it sets a precedent. It sets a standard for MMOs to have to try to figure a way to answer that in the future. I don't think that this is something that they should give any amount of time or thought. That, they made a bold decision by saying, look, 3.0 is gated by story. Do A Realm Reborn. Do your homework before you get here. And I really feel like that was the right decision to make for Heavensward, and that it would be continuing to make the right decision for 4.0. By continuing to make the content story gated. That's it undercuts the amount of effort that your existing player base has put into their characters, and it doesn't even really solve the problem that, even if you give someone a fully level character, they still need to figure out their eye level problem. This is really a terrible idea. Terrible idea. Mm-hmm. I heard this and I was really disheartened. Really disheartened. There have been a lot of feedback threads about this. I mean, a lot of people who have been talking about it on Reddit. There's a pretty big Reddit backlash thread on this idea at the moment, and I have to say, I'm totally in the camp that says this is a terrible idea.
I don't see how it benefits the game in any way. Like, story gating 4.0 would be one thing. I am in favor of story gating if the 4.0 storyline directly ties into the 3.0 storyline. If it doesn't have much ties to Heavensward, then fine, only gate it behind ARR. But what the hell is the point of letting your characters jump to 60?
Wasn't the biggest problem, the big problem I heard was from media. They couldn't review the game. Yeah. So use that premise, the jumping premise, only for those people so they can review the game.
Or hell, put a demo out for people like that.
Yeah.
Here's your demo. It's got a 60 character you can play for a week.
But
Enjoy
when you do this to your player base, that takes away from their experiencing each level and then the progression. You have to learn how to use those abilities. It just takes away from it because you're going to get a bunch of bad players just throwing shitty rotations out there. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Now, look, I think that Square Enix should pay very, very close attention to what ZeniMax is doing with Elder Scrolls Online, because at E3 they basically announced that you can jump straight to the level cap. So I'd like to see what kind of hardcore community they're going to be able to retain by taking that approach. I don't think that you're going to get a lot of people sticking around because it's like, why bother?
Yeah.
Well, I sort of feel like that sometimes. Like, if I quit tomorrow, it really, and I just rejoined at 4.0, I wouldn't have that much work to do.
Right.
Like there wouldn't be that much work to do. Right. And so character progression, or at least meaningful character progression, really doesn't. It's not there. Like, I just don't feel like I'm as attached to that character as I am with even characters from single player RPGs that I've played. Mm-hmm.
It's just,
I mean, this is a Final Fantasy. What are they driven on? Well, story.
Right. And I mean, they're adding Deep Dungeon as another way of gaining XP.
Right.
It's not like there's any lack of ways to level up right now.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no reason to add to add a way to just skip that. All right, let's go.